All right, let's talk about investing. There's this huge trap that I think we all fall into at some point. We're always trying to predict the future. But what if that's the wrong game entirely? What if the real goal is to build an investment system that's ready for anything the future decides to throw it at? And this quote, this really gets to the heart of it. It changes everything. It's not about having some magical crystal ball, right? It's about building a solid, robust process so that you're prepared no matter what happens. I'm telling you, once you make that mental shift, your entire approach to the market just changes.
Okay, so let's dive into this first big idea. How do we actually move beyond just trying to predict things?
So I've got a question for you, and it's a big one. Think about your own strategy right now. Is it built on prediction or is it built on preparation? Are you just trying to guess what the next big headline is going to be, or are you actually building a system that's designed to last? This is really the fundamental choice we all have to make. Because here's the thing, the world is just so complex. Trying to navigate it with just gut feelings and the latest news alert, that's a recipe for disaster. Relying on predictions it's a fragile way to operate because reality, it always has a way of completely shattering our best guesses. We need something tougher, something more durable.
Okay, so if trying to predict everything is the problem, what's the solution? Well, it all comes down to this idea of thinking in principles. Let's unpack what that really means.
So what are we even talking about when we say a principle? It's not some super strict, rigid rule you have to follow. It's much more like a compass. These are timeless, tested truths about how the world actually works. They're there to guide you, especially when the path forward gets a little foggy.
And this, right here, is where the magic happens. Instead of freaking out and reacting to every little market swing, principles let you zoom out and see the bigger picture. You start to understand these larger patterns, things like debt cycles that always repeat, or how human behavior swings back and forth between fear and greed. Once you see that, you can respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting emotionally. Look, even with the best principles, you're still going to make mistakes. It's just part of the game. And that leads to this absolutely brilliant formula. Pain plus reflection equals progress. You see, setbacks are going to happen. That's a given. But they don't have to be total failures. In fact, they can be your best teachers, if you know how to learn from them. And here's how that actually plays out. It starts with a setback, right? That's the pain. But instead of just shrugging it off or ignoring it, you do a deep dive. You figure out what really happened. That's the reflection part. And what comes out of that? You improve your system. You make a real change. So every single mistake becomes this incredibly valuable piece of data that actually makes you stronger for next time. All right, that whole idea of getting stronger from mistakes brings us perfectly to our first major pillar of the system, building resilience. Now, we've all heard the word diversification a million times, right? But let's look at it in a new way. It's not just about playing defense. It's really about creating synergy. It's about actively combining different assets that zig when others zag, so that your whole portfolio becomes way stronger than any single piece on its own. I love this analogy. Think about it. You could make one single huge bet. Super high risk, super stressful, and totally fragile. Or you could build a balanced team. A team where every player has different skills that complement each other. That's synergy. That team can handle anything. They can win in all sorts of conditions. It's resilient. It's built to last. So, how do you actually build this balanced team in your portfolio? Well, you diversify across a few key dimensions. First, across different asset classes. Stocks, bonds, the usual suspects. Second, across geographies, so you're not tied to just one country's economy. And third, across different time horizons, so you're balancing that need for short-term stability with long-term growth. Okay, on to pillar number 2. This one is all about creating a buffer, a cushion for when things go wrong. It's a classic concept called the margin of safety. So what is a margin of safety? It's pretty simple, actually. It's your room for error. It's admitting that, hey, we don't know the future perfectly, so we better build in a buffer. For investors, this usually means buying an asset for way less than you think it's actually worth. The best way to think about this is a bridge. An engineer doesn't build a bridge to hold exactly the weight of the cars they expect. No way. They build it to hold many, many times more than that. That extra strength, that's its margin of safety. It's for the unexpected storm or the ridiculously heavy truck. Your portfolio needs that exact same kind of thinking. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You can't win if you're not in the game. You can't get that sweet long-term growth if one nasty downturn completely wipes you out. A margin of safety is what keeps you playing. Survival isn't just a nice to have. It's everything. It's your ultimate edge.
And that brings us to the final principle. And this one isn't about spreadsheets or numbers. This is all about your mindset. It's the principle of radical honesty.
Radical transparency. Really, it all starts with being brutally honest with yourself first. It's about forcing yourself to see the world as it is, not as you wish it was. And why is that so important? Because your blind spots, that's where the real danger is lurking. So what does this look like in the real world? It means you stop pretending you have all the answers. It means you actually write down why you're making a decision before you make it. It means you go back and really honestly look at your mistakes. And maybe most importantly, you go find people who disagree with you and listen to them. It's all about swapping out wishful thinking and emotion for a clear, logical process. Because you just can't argue with reality. I mean, you can try, you can ignore it for a little while, but in the end, reality always wins. It's undefeated. So the smartest thing you can do is just get in sync with it as fast as you can. And being radically honest is the quickest way to get there.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. Think of this as your new toolkit for navigating a future that's always going to be uncertain. You've got these 4 big ideas, and together they shift your focus away from that impossible game of prediction and towards something you can actually control, being prepared, being resilient, and always getting better.
So that leaves us with one last question to chew on. The market is just a sea of noise, isn't it? It's constant volatility and uncertainty. If you're just reacting to every headline, you're going to feel like you're lost at sea. So the real question you have to ask yourself is this: are you just getting tossed around by the waves, or do you have a compass you can actually trust to guide you?